hip hop journalism, I felt, was very like softball in general. It's like interviewers did not ask the tough questions. It was really damn near promo, you know, because you would have the artist come in, you would ask about their album, you would ask about their jewelry or whatever, but you wanted them to come back. You wanted to be invited to the listening parties and be cool with them and be friends with them and stuff like that. So it was very softball. But like my favorite show was 60 Minutes. And that was the show that I really was like, yo, like someone shows up on 60 Minutes and it changes the narrative. It changes the laws. You know what I mean? Like literally laws would change because of a 60 Minutes interview. And I'm like, this is what I'm trying to do. So when I was interviewing people, I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to ask the shit that everyone really cares about, even if it's uncomfortable, even if no one else is asking about it. And this is where like the Vlad is the police, like, you know, thing kind of stem from, where I would just ask the tough questions. And if you're rapping about it, I'm going to ask you about it. You don't have to talk about it, but I'm going to ask you about it, because that's what people really want to know, I felt. And that was the whole thing. I just went really hard with the questions and really hard with the content, and I would do shit that nobody else wanted to do, whether they were too scared to do it or too uncomfortable to do it, or they were, you know, wanting to keep a good relationship with someone. I'm like, fuck it. I have no money behind me. I have no one funding me. I have no partners. You know, I have to compete with the Hot 97s and the Power 105s and the MTVs and the BETs and all that type of shit with my independent platform. So I'm going to outdo all them motherfuckers. And that's pretty much been the mentality for the last 11 years.
Hmm. So now that the whole police thing, how do you feel? Like, what is that? How do you feel that? Where did that come from? Like the whole, you know, Vlad is the feds. Because I hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people say, "Yo, why you even go to Vlad? He's the feds. He's the police." Yeah. Where do you think that came from? And why do you think, you know, why do you think people say that? And on top of that, how does that make you feel?
I ask you know, I mean, coming from, you know, doing the American Gangster episode, right, where I got to sit with, you know, the rappers who were also criminals, right? You know, like the J Diggs and the Coolios and all these guys that were rapping, but they were also robbing banks, you know what I mean? And doing other shit as well. You know, I got to talk to them about it openly, because they already knew, okay, when you're on American Gangster, we're going to talk about gang shit. You know, and with that, I also got to talk, you know, as we're putting that together, I'm talking with the FBI agents who are involved in the cases and the police involved in the cases and stuff like that. And we put together this project. And to this day, that American Gangster episode, I feel, is like my finest piece of work as a project. It came out like so dope. So after I did that, I'm like, yo, this is dope. And American Gangster got canceled. The series got canceled right after, you know, that season. And I was just like, yo, there's like a void for this type of content, especially in hip hop, but just period, all around. So I'm like, yo, this is going to be one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on. And you know, I just felt like a lot of these street guys, you know, they want to tell their story, you know. So as I was doing these interviews, you know, with the rappers who had kind of criminal backgrounds, you know, I gave them a platform to tell their story, which also, you know, expanded to, like, you know, I started interviewing some of the major criminal figures, like, you know, Boston George, who the movie Blow was based on, Freeway Ricky Ross, Pee Wee Kirkland, you know, Lil D from Oakland, Big U of the Rolling 60s Crips, like, you know, like, and these sort of became like people's favorite interviews. And yeah, I mean, I just started focusing on that. I just felt like, you know, I guess with me being white partially, you know, and me asking these types of questions, people are like, well, Vlad the police. So.
Well, you're partial white?
What?
You're partially
white? No,
white?
not partially white. I'm white.
Oh,
No, I said partially, with
because of that.
Partially part of the questions, partially me being white. People are just gonna like, okay, you're the police, and that's cool. Like, I mean, it's not anything that really bothers me, because I don't work with the police.
But do you feel like sometimes some of the questions that you ask can actually, like, do you ever think about, like, damn, maybe I shouldn't ask that question because that might be bad on on his situation? Maybe you look at somebody and be like, he's young, he probably doesn't understand certain things. Let me not ask that question. But by you still asking the question, do you think that you're kind of taking advantage in a way?
Well, I'll put it like this. Anybody who I interview is wearing a wire that they put on themselves, right? Like when you come to interview with me, you run a mic through your own shirt. Facts. And then there's another mic that points at you, and there's two cameras that point at you. So there is no gray area that what you're saying is not being filmed and taped, right? So you have that already established. We're not having private conversations and then I'm leaking that out afterwards. So you are here knowing that there's going to be broadcast to the world. When I ask certain questions, I never ever ask somebody about anything illegal that they're doing right now. And I will never ask about any crimes that they're currently involved in, that they're currently doing, whatever else. I will talk about stuff that they've done in the past the statute of limitations, or stuff that they've been convicted for and have already done their time for. And I'm very careful with that. Now, if they talk about something, and they're still currently doing active crimes at the time, I don't know about that. That's not something that I'm putting out there. And I've never heard of a case of like a person got busted because of a Vlad TV interview. A person got busted because they get caught with a bunch of cocaine or get caught with a bunch of weed, or they end up doing a robbery or stuff like that. It's never because of a Vlad TV interview. The Vlad TV interview will not get you locked up, Now,
but it can provide information if, like, they say something.
I don't know.
Do you think the police look at your interviews?
The police look at everything on the internet.
True.
Absolutely, including my interviews, including, people's Instagram pages.
That's a fact.
Yeah. My interviews are, it's not exclusively look at Vlad TV interviews. They're looking at the whole story.
Do you care? Do you care if, if somebody is saying something like that they shouldn't be saying, or do you care more about, the reaction that it's going to get?
I care if a person, like I've had interviews, where a person would say something in the spur of the moment that I know is going to have a very bad backlash. Like I'm not going to say who it was, but I remember this one rapper, a younger rapper said, "Oh yeah, I like corporate money because it's a lot whiter. It's whiter than the hip hop money." And I'm like, all right, let me tell my staff to cut that out. Then I called him and his management and said, we're going to cut that out because they're going to murder you over this shit. This is just going to make you look really bad. Or if someone says some sort of racial slur on camera or whatever else, it's like, we're gonna just take that out. I do. I don't want, I want anyone who interviews with me, I want them to come back. I want them to do well. I want them to look at that interview and say, yo, this was dope. Like this is like, because what I've been quietly doing for the last 10 plus years is I've been slowly building, biographies on people. Like if you look at like a Hot 97 or a Big Boys Neighborhood or whatever else, it's a very different format. They'll come in and they'll talk about whatever's happening. They'll talk about their new album. They'll talk about a few little key events or whatever else, and they'll keep it moving. I'm the only one that really kind of sits down and say, let's start from the beginning. where did you grow up? How did you get into hip hop? What are some of the key events that happened to you early on, and how did it lead you to this place? So after we're all gone, these, you know, the people that we interview have basically little mini documentaries about them, you know, and that's what I'm looking to leave after I'm gone. But, you know, to answer your question, like, yeah, I do care about the people. I do care about what gets put out there, but, you know, but at the end of the day, some people will say some stuff on camera that they truly believe and they'll truly stand behind, and it just will be an unpopular kind of opinion. You see what I'm saying? You know, like when Glock 9, this rapper from Florida, he said, I don't want to have, I want to have a baby with a dark-skinned girl, because then that baby would be black like me. And it's like, that didn't go over too well when it came out, but he stood behind it. He was like, hey, yeah, that's how I feel. You know, and y'all, all of you who are criticizing me, you didn't go through what I went through, because he's really dark-skinned. And it's like, yeah. You know, and soon after he got signed to Cash Money. You know what I mean? Because of all the buzz around it. I mean, he doesn't regret it. He doesn't do it. But, you know, some people may look at it like, oh, you should have taken that out or whatever. But I felt like, you know, this is something that is going to create a dialogue, and this is going to create people, you know, people are going to talk about this. And maybe he will feel differently about it after he gets people's feedback on it, because this is probably something he's never said in public before. But, you know, that's pretty much my stance on it.